Hey there, welcome to Tell Me a True Crime Story podcast. I'm your host, Holly. I'm so appreciative of you for being here. I know that there are many awesome true crime podcasts out there, but you are here listening to me, and I love that. Thank you for taking me along with you and allowing me to be a small part of your day. I hope that you and your family are happy, healthy, and together forever. Big hugs to all of you. Please follow this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. My username on all three of those is at Tell Me a True Crime Story. I received a new review on Apple this past week from Myrma19, and it says, "Enjoying your podcast." Thank you so much, Myrma, for taking the time out to review the podcast. Big hugs to you. I'm trying to get to 50 reviews on Apple by Halloween, so that means I only need 8 more. If you haven't done so yet, just go to my show page and scroll down till you see ratings and reviews and select a star rating. Then below that, click on write a review. And I'm so happy to say that I got 3 more 5-star ratings on Spotify this past week, so now I have 26. Thank you guys so much for that. Spotify won't let me see who you are so that I can thank you by name, but thank you so very much, and great big hugs to you. My goal is to get to 30 ratings on Spotify by Halloween. And by the time this comes out, that only gives us 1 more day. So I know you guys can help me do it though. Now let me tell you a true crime story. Like the last several episodes, the case we're going to cover today happened on Halloween. Let's go back in time together to 1989. In 1989, a gallon of gas was about $1 per gallon, a dozen eggs was just 79 cents, a loaf of bread was 66 cents, and the minimum wage was $3.35. 1989 was also the year that Ted Bundy, age 42, was executed in the electric chair in Florida State Prison in Rayford, Florida. The place where our story takes place in this episode is Galveston, Texas. Galveston is located in Galveston County, and the county is located on the Gulf Coast of Texas, 80 miles southwest of the Louisiana state line and about an hour's drive southeast of Houston. Galveston was incorporated in 1839 and became the most active port west of New Orleans, Louisiana, and the largest and richest city in the state of Texas. By the year 1900, it had a population of about 37,000. But on September 8th, 1900, a hurricane known as the Great Storm of 1900 devastated Galveston, killing more than 6,000 residents and completely destroying 1/3 of the city. It's the deadliest hurricane in U.S. history. After that, the entire level of the city was raised by 8 feet and by 17 feet at the solid concrete seawall, which spans over 10 miles long. The seawall effectively protected Galveston from subsequent hurricanes' storm surge. But one hurricane that hit Galveston in 2008, Hurricane Ike, has implications in this story that we'll discuss today. You'll hear more about that in a bit. That Halloween in 1989 was just another Tuesday for 30-year-old Sylvia Salinas, owner and operator of Salinas Food Store, a small corner store in Galveston, Texas. She was tending to her store located at 3028 Avenue Q, which was at the corner of 31st Street and Avenue Q, just about a quarter of a mile from the Gulf of Mexico. Her parents had been at the store visiting with her, but around lunchtime they'd left to walk home just 2 blocks away to eat some lunch. Sylvia Salinas was born on January 7th, 1959 to her parents, Maria Elena Salinas and Derlis Peña Salinas Sr. She had 1 sister, Lenora, and 2 brothers, Derlis Jr. and Jose. I couldn't find much information on Sylvia's childhood, but she did grow up in Galveston. Sylvia loved life and was very outgoing. Her brother, Derlis Jr., said that she had one of the biggest hearts and, quote, "Of all the individuals I've ever known, I never knew anyone so compassionate," end quote. Sylvia was affectionately known in the neighborhood and by friends as Sil, or Tia Sil, or Aunt Sil. Sylvia had many friends. That's because she knew all of the neighborhood patrons, not just as customers, but as friends. Those that frequented her corner store said she always had a smile on her face and she was warm and welcoming. She didn't care if you paid with $100 bill or with food stamp coupons. She treated everyone with the same genuine friendliness. She was always helping her customers in some way too. She'd listen to their problems or allow them to get groceries on credit until they got paid. Around 1:20 p.m., a private security firm received a silent alarm from the Salinas food store, and police were dispatched to the scene. Police arrived at the store in just 4 minutes. Just inside the door, behind the counter, they found Sylvia dead from a single stab wound to her heart. It appeared that Sylvia was taken by surprise by her killer because she was stabbed while she sat in a relaxed position on a stool. After they stabbed her, they used the bloody murder weapon, the knife, to pry open the register in order to steal the money inside. This is what had triggered the silent alarm that had been built into the cash register. The police found the cash register empty, except for some change and food stamp coupons. Investigators weren't sure if the knife that was the murder weapon was already in the store or the killer brought it in. According to news reports back then, the wooden-handled knife was shown to Sylvia's family members and they did not recognize it, and it was said that Sylvia didn't butcher meat in her store. However, in March of this year, 2023, Sylvia's great-niece, Amanda Upton, said the opposite in an episode of the Catch My Killer podcast. Amanda said that it's her understanding that there was a little meat market at the store, and it's thought that the knife, the murder weapon, came from that part of the store. Sylvia kept a machete and a loaded pistol close by, right under the counter, but those weren't touched, and she didn't have any defensive wounds. This makes investigators believe that Sylvia knew her killer well enough to let them get close to her. She trusted them. It could have been a close friend, an acquaintance, or just a regular customer that she thought she knew well enough to trust. Sylvia's brother, Derlis Jr., agreed with investigators. He said that Sylvia never would have let someone behind the counter unless she knew them and felt comfortable with them. Sylvia's roommate and close friend of over 5 years, Cynthia Marsh, thought the same thing. She said, quote, "Sylvia was a very alert person. She watched everyone in the store. That store was her life. She's been doing it for 10 years, and she was a person who was alert to danger. She could tell when people who came into her store were a threat," end quote. Father Albert Carrion, pastor of Reina de la Paz Catholic Church, had administered last rites to Sylvia on that Halloween in 1989. The next day, he helped her family make her final arrangements. While Sylvia's family planned her funeral, detectives were busy interviewing witnesses and studying evidence from the crime scene. They searched through fingerprints lifted from the scene and had to eliminate friends, relatives, and regular customers. They interviewed about 20 men, and all of them were eliminated as being Sylvia's killer. During the initial investigation, authorities were trying to locate 2 different men that were seen near the store around the time of Sylvia's murder. One of the men was a black man dressed in dark clothing. He was talking on the payphone right outside the store about 10 minutes before Sylvia was murdered. Police believe that he may have seen her killer. The other man they wanted to locate and talk to was a white man with sandy blonde hair. He was seen running down the alley by the store shortly after the murder. I couldn't find anything that said that these men were ever identified or that authorities were ever able to talk to them.